Hope is a dangerous thing, cruel and painful. You behold on obsidian walls overlooking the fortress prison of Rybad Cole your leader, Asmog, a vampiric hobgoblin dressed in black armor, who holds a writhing hobgoblin elder by the throat, lifting him up off the ground. The Sundering Lord, ruler of the Steel Keep, this is the commander of the garrison of the prison, which all of you will know from this day to your last. Hope, that which corrodes the soul and weakens the spirit, that sharpest and most painful barb. It can drive you to madness if you let it. No, for you, my pets, I do not wish this. Under his hand, you see, writhing, the elder that is held aloft, silver streaks in his hair. He wears the clothes of a prisoner, the one who is held aloft, as Asmog raises him ever higher. The Sundering Lord looks at all of you. If pain is what you feel, then it is the comfort of despair you must seek. Surrendering hope is the only balm you will ever know. Some would tell you otherwise. They are fools. Assembled beneath him, filling the square of the central plaza of Rybad Cole, under a red ash-choked sky, you see 1,000 prisoners on their knees, shackled. Surrounding them, armored fire giants, row upon row of human, half-orc, hobgoblin. You see that there are numerous demons populating the walls, chattering in glee and laughter as they look down at this public display of power. For those who require assistance, ridding themselves of that most painful substance, allow me to inform you, despite the ministrations of the rebellious in nature, when next the red moon touches the western sky, we will march to glory and the final defeat of the Prime Deities for the Strife Emperor! Ho, ho, ho. The armies assembled on the walls chant in unison. Massive drums, each 40 feet tall, with hobgoblin drummers standing beside them, massive batons in their hands. You look out. Word has just reached the Steel Keep. The Allhammer is dead! Ah! Cheer arises. The Platinum Dragon devoured! Ah! And of course, the Moonweaver has just met her final end. But what of your divinity? And here he turns to face the hobgoblin, still choking under his supernaturally strong grip. The Changebringer, that mistress of good fortune. Do you see good fortune before you here? He drops the hobgoblin to the wall. The hobgoblin elder, a secret worshiper of the Changebringer, raises his head. She has not seemed to save you here. Speak. Do you repent, knowing that your ultimate defeat is soon at hand? You see the hobgoblin look and whisper, I do not. No? You see Asmog lifts a hand out under the open sun, because even as a vampire, the sun has not shone here in 100 years. Perhaps he has no need of rest. He raises his fingers to snap them, and below you see there is a small family of hobgoblin prisoners looking up, and you see that behind them a group of soldiers draws their weapon to level them at their face. The elder, a thin leather cord that has had his holy symbol ripped off of it, looks down. I repent. Please don't hurt them. What's that? Speak louder, that the other prisoners might hear. I repent. Change is not coming. The Changebringer cannot save us. Listen to what they say. I'm sorry. I repent. I have wasted my life in worship to her. I do not believe. Persuasive words. I'm glad that you at last have seen the truth before the lie of hope could destroy you. The Strife Emperor still does demand punishment, though. Asmog reaches a clawed hand into the stomach of the hobgoblin elder, up through the chest, through the neck, grabs the mouth and skull of this elder from within, and wrenches the head into the chest cavity of the body, arm covered in viscera, as he sloughs him off, and he falls 150 feet to splatter in the court before you. Asmog smiles, licks the blood off his fingers, turns to a lieutenant, a massive human enforcer, thick cast iron armor, who nods, turns back and goes, "What are you waiting for? Back to work, you slugs!" The drums beat, and the prisoners are yanked through chains. Back to work. Matt. I would like you to describe your character for us and what he is currently busy doing with the knowledge that your hand is bleeding under the effort that you now expend.
You see amongst the cacophonous crowd of shouting soldiers and quiet, stunned prisoners, one elder dwarf, probably far older looking due to his recent life than actual age, but his gray and white streaked hair itself, a tattered mess of a tangled mane, its beard itself kind of tattered and burned at the edges at the very tips. Very simple, kind of gray, dirty clothing with an open kind of loose vest around it. A stoneworking hammer in one hand. The one hand he has for the left arm itself is gone past the elbow. In its place, a rough metal cap of what looks like iron slag, cauterized what may have been a wound or a punishment of some past moment. But he takes all this display in, emotionless, brow just low, a familiar display before he turns around amongst the rest of the quarry members that he works alongside.
You march down into the pit, you and your fellow prisoners, and resume quarrying deep deep down. Even the red smudge of where some distant sun touches the sky, that vanishes as well under the haze of dust and rock. You hear coughing, shouting, whimpering and wailing nearby as some collapse under the strain. You return to a massive slab of this deep volcanic rock that will be quarried here and shipped out to make some new castle at some far distant edge of the Strife Emperor's empire. You've been here so long that there are parts of the world before you can barely remember. Your family name is gone. What life was like before this is hard to recall. Go ahead, if you'd be so kind, and give me a stonemason's tools check to make sure that you can work fast enough to avoid punishment.
All right. That history check tolerance plus 2. That's going to be a 19.
Injured though you are, you take to your work. You've done this 100? No, more than 100 times. Have you done it 1,000 times? You might have. And as our audience at home can see, what you add to this roll, you add from an NPC stat block. This is a very different story here in the world of Exandria.
Level 20.
Oh no.
Garn's sitting pretty at 13 hit points. So.
Hey, for a level 0 NPC for a challenge rating, what, 1/4, 1/8?
1/8.
No.
A challenge rating, 1/8?
Almost twice as much as me.
Not bad, not bad.
Get behind me.
On a 19, you get to work carving the stone. There's like a deep familiarity here in this place. You know how to work the earth here. Deep volcanic activity. It's familiar underneath the hammer in your hand. You, having this terrible injury, get the chisel sort of in a crook of your arm and manage to strike against it with your other hand, working as fast as you can. And I'd like you to make a wisdom saving throw with disadvantage for me.
A majestic 9.
As you continue to work, you hear a voice nearby as you're continuing to push through, and it reaches out to you speaking. Dad? Papa, turn around. Where are you?
Keep working. Can't turn around.
As you are down here in the pit, I would love for Celia for you to describe your character as she walks through the pit looking for those who are injured.
Yeah. Rei'nia, she is walking through the pit. She's dark brown skin, white silver locks that she tries to keep them from fusing. She is walking around the pit, listening but trying not to absorb the sounds that are surrounding her, the screaming, the wailing. She is hoping that her eyes, her very, very observant eyes, can sort of clock the people that she's looking for. She's trying to make sure that no limps are any worse than they were yesterday, or that there is no one looking more sickly than they were the day before. She isn't a healer, she's a preserver of these bodies. And her instinct and want to care is something that she constantly fights, because after the display today, she's reminded that her hope, while she maintains it, is something that she must hide.
As you move through this place, give me either perception or medicine, and you may do so with advantage.
Okay. That's a D20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a 20-sided one.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Please. Oh, that's a nat 20.
Whoa! Nia, your eyes moving through this place, looking at the horror. After a big public display, and you've been here not as long as most, but even in the short time that you've been here, you've seen these public displays a couple times. If anything, they're becoming more frequent. Where they will find, in this case, you believe there was a genuine devotee of one of the prime deities. Sometimes you wonder if they even were genuine. Looking around for those that are in harm's way, there's someone that you would have probably missed on anything other than a nat 20, because he's not holding his body in any way like he is incapable of continuing to work. But you notice through basically the shimmer of still wet blood in his garments that Garin is working through an injury that probably would have killed most of the prisoners here.
I turn to Garin, and I just ask him very plainly, you want my help this time?
Yeah. I think I'm all right. I don't want you to...
Garin, you don't have to do this. Let's just patch you up.
You see Cuzzle walks over to you, sort of smiling. He's got sort of like a leather kind of vest on, sort of leather breeches. Walks over and goes, Nia, pleasure to have you down here in the pit again.
Hi, Cuzzle. You're doing a number.
Well, you gotta keep rowdy ones like this one in line.
You make my job so easy, Cuzzle. Thank you.
We knock them down, you set them up.
Nia does not like the idea of working with Cuzzle, having anything in, like, community with him. The idea of her being a part of what makes Cuzzle enjoy his job makes her sick to her stomach. So she bites her tongue and tries to duck and get Garin to the mop.
You see, he says, you see that Cuz looks over and says, I know, you taking my fella here away from me.
Well, yes, you knock him down, I set him up.
Intentionally cough blood into the white beard.
Disgusting.
Let me take care of this, Cuzzle. We'll be back before you know it.
All right, well, you gotta do what you gotta do, ain't you? 'Cause otherwise, you know, they get out of order.
We wouldn't have that now, would we?
Thank you, Cuzzle.
Nia hates the apologizing that Garin does, but she understands that everyone has their own survival instincts, but the idea that it pisses her off, it bothers her. She doesn't let it show because she understands that she does not want to be in Garin's situation, but just keeps it moving, bites her tongue, keeps pushing.
And there are a small crew of prisoners manning the kitchens here. Literally like crosswalks going, like catwalks going up to these 30-foot tall crucibles full of whatever this stench is. The meat in there, absolutely questionable. The smell, the smoke, cinders coming up out of the fires underneath, breathing down here is hard. All of the kitchen workers, all these prisoners that are working the kitchens have like wet rags tied around their faces, as much for the smoke and embers as it is for just the stink of the food itself. And I would love, Jasmine, for you to describe your character for us and what she's doing in this moment.
All right, so Phaedra is a small halfling woman with red hair and 2 pigtails. She looks kind of scrawny, wiry, not a particularly muscular, strong person, but you get the sense that she's been around, tough looking. She's got a tattoo of a cockroach on her shoulder. And at the moment, though she's trying to hide it, she looks like she has not been sleeping well at all recently. And so she's at work scraping down the crust with a long spatula. Not even a food spatula. It's like probably for paint or something. Just like trying to chip down away at the sides of this disgusting soup pot.
You're chipping away. You kind of have like a little rope to actually get down under the lip of the cauldron itself as you're going. Across from you with a long scraping thing that's like a pole arm is with a similar roach tattoo on the inside of a massive bicep is Otto, an enormous sort of bearded Goliath who looks down, and you can see him scraping against something, and he gets a huge chunk of the crusted burnt stuff that flops off, and it sort of hits the deck underneath you on this little scaffold platform that you're standing on. This crucible is like empty, which is why you're able to clean it. And as it lands, the crust comes off, and there's just straight up the bones of a hand.
Oh.
And he looks and goes, well, that's a hand.
Yeah, no, I was wondering where that went. Well, I mean, I don't know, just throw it back in. Bones that's more flavor, right?
Well, I think this probably just tastes like ash now.
It all tastes like ash. Like, just throw it in.
I don't. All right. Should I tell anyone about this?
No, why would you tell Otto? It's fine.
All right.
We don't have to tell anyone about anything.
He
here.
tosses it from way down beneath you. You see that there is another person that has a little roach tattoo on the outside of his arm. Taveen, who you see as a fire genasi, sort of eyes are just sort of bright cinders. Some fire genasi have a glow in the back of their throat. He doesn't. His teeth are actually burning coals, which looks very bright whenever he opens his lips. And you see that he looks out and calls out from down there. You can see he's wading through coals, like sweeping them out as he's standing them. He looks up and says, "Hey, what's going on up there? Did you guys find something?"
Just another hand.
God damn it!
Yeah,
All right. Do we have to tell anybody?
Who we're gonna tell? Who's gonna care about a hand?
Well, whoever's hand it is.
Yeah, well, I think they've noticed already that it's missing, so I don't see how we're gonna help with that.
See, Otto sort of crosses his arms and says, "I obviously would care more about losing a hand than eating one. But if I lost it and ate mine without knowing, I would be mad."
That's fair. That's very wise, Otto. Appreciate that.
Thank you for calling me wise. You see that as you go along, the last member of your group, way off in the actual food preparation section, you see wearing a just absolutely filthy, blood-soaked apron that has almost, it looks like an industrial paper cutter that is just cutting through huge chunks of what look like sick beasts of burden. There's like various horses and some oxen. He's just is Kefkedriel, who you see he's got the roach on the back of his neck, and you see that he's whistling a beautiful elven song. He's like a sort of a gaunt elven man. You see he turns around and sort of whispers over to you and says, "You guys need a hand over there?"
Thank you, Kef. I think we're good.
And I would like the 2 Dragonborn at the very end of the carriage facing across from each other to describe themselves. Liam, we'll start with you.
All right. Arrow is an aged Dragonborn in tattered, filthy traveling clothes, a shredded cloak. All of the clothes, it looks like it has been worn to the hilt.
And his scales are... You almost wouldn't know that he's scaled in gold because all of his skin and flesh is coated with months worth of dust from the road and the wastes. His eyes, the reptilian flesh that is finer and smaller on the eyes, is sunken and sallow and dark. And there is a significant, long-aged scar, a cut where the scale has been opened on his neck and throat. And he is got a far-off look. He is really looking, not that he hasn't acknowledged others in here, especially the Hulk sitting across from him. But this is a situation that he has successfully avoided for all the many decades of his life. And he is spending a lot of time focusing on just slow breath. In and out. Meditative, almost.
Sitting across is Crocus. Crocus is about 6'6", 300 pounds of just muscle and very rough and jagged scales, covered in many scars, fresh and old. A much younger Dragonborn, just at adulthood. White scales that has a sort of spidering vitiligo of dark scales that come up from under his threadbare clothing. Hunched over in his restraints, and you notice that there's a few more than anybody else has been given, as he's quite capable of tearing out of basic restraints. And he's sitting there staring forward with a kind of look where he's not registering what's around him, and his eyes are fully dilated in this just kind of panicked stasis, not knowing what to do, not knowing anybody around him. A lost giant child.
Mm-hmm. Captain Ruscott moves through the center. He's got this enormous, sort of corroded, metal-headed mallet that he's dragging along the floor behind him, just gleeful at the smell of panic in here. This place has been packed full of Dragonborn, so it smells like there's a smell of like fear and sort of like the dirt and blood of injury and wound in prisoners' clothing, but there's also this just crackle of elemental like fire and lightning and everything. Sort of, it smells almost like that thing of ozone before rain in here. He walks through and just goes, "You are being sent on the morrow to serve at the pleasure of the Scaled Tyrant, sister of our very own Strife Emperor, who will crush this world under his gauntlet. His victory is soon at hand, and his faithful servants will stand by his side and place their boots upon the heads of those that were foolish enough to doubt him and his strength. You, however, are being sent to fight on the front lines. Ain't you cheeky?" And you see that he grabs the snout of, to your immediate right, there is a green dragonborn who's sort of brawny. He's got a very long, his neck is much longer and more draconic, so he doesn't have his head sitting right on his shoulders. It's a little bit of a longer neck. Has that sort of green dragonborn profile. You see that he sort of grabs his chin and he whips this sort of long reptilian neck away. And he turns around to your immediate left, sitting on the other side. You see that there is this very sort of like tall, he's not making himself small at all, is a bronze dragonborn who looks around, his eyes sort of wide in panic as well. And you see that Ruska says, except for our lovely metallic friends here, I hear that you will serve as something of an hors d'oeuvre to the majesty and might of the Scale Tyrant. I bet she gets hungry with 5 heads, don't she? You see that someone running and says, the human sort of lady looks, you see that the little boy at the table is just sort of fidgeting, playing with something. She says, quiet, stop that. As the human lord speaks again and goes, that leaves the Lord of the Hells, our beloved Strife Emperor, a scaled tyrant. And has the chained oblivion been called to bear yet? And you see that the Iron Scorpion turns and says, the chained oblivion cannot be called by anyone for any reason of any kind. It is not. That is not a source of hope for our cause. We must rally together with the Crawling King, the Spider Queen, and now the Ruiner gone. We are in dark times, indeed. You see that he looks and says, however, all is not lost. Many of the primes have been injured or are missing, gone in battle, and of course, their spirits do not long for war as we do. However, there are only so many times we can say that we are about to march before people begin to wonder why we are not marching. You see that Asmog says, yes, we've had to increase the executions recently. Keep people from realizing that things are not advancing as swiftly as we had hoped. In this moment, Phaedra, you look over and see the sort of kid playing at the table. The lady turns to him, and you see she looks over to her husband, who apparently are the parents of this young child, and says, darling, would you give a hand, please? You see that human lord takes out a knife, plunges it into the kid's hand in the table, and says, stop fidgeting! My apologies. And you turn and see all the various demonic, otherworldly presences have a moment of looking somewhat, let's say, perplexed at that wanton act of cruelty from one of the mortal beings in the room. You see that the Lord says, Cloaked Serpent, Spider Queen, Crawling King, and now the Ruiner. All banished. We should work together to petition our Lord, the Strife Emperor. Advancing the war effort alone may not yield the results we need. It may be time to focus our efforts on freeing those of his kin that have been banished. And you see that here the High Priestess, Satal, goes, however, were they to be freed, more of the world need be shared amongst them. Perhaps if victory can be claimed by only 3, more the spoils, no? Phaedra, go ahead and be an insight check.
Not good. 9.
You look at the various lieutenants of the Strife Emperor here, his personal envoy, the High Torturer, the leader, the commander of the garrison here at Rybad Cole, and you just look at them all looking at each other, and you wonder how much any of them believes in this cause or believes in their place in this cause. And I think dinner begins to wind down. You see the child looks down at the knife in his hand and has not moved since then, and looks up to you in this moment.
Phaedra does not look back, just continues whatever it is that she's doing of like clearing the plates.
You continue looking. As you get to the child's plate, you hear, and this kid is maybe about like 9 or 10 years old. You hear a little raspy voice go, "It's okay. I wouldn't want to help me either."
Oh no! Oh no! Phaedra, Jesus. Okay. That definitely.
Gang, it's the height of the calamity, and it's so bad. It's
so bad.
Bad here. Arrow is looking for two things. He is searching for where he was processed as a prisoner, so that he can find his belongings and the map he spent decades crafting of Guisar, and he is keeping an eye out for water of any kind.
So, you're making an investigation check as well. 10 gets you one of those things. And I'll ask you, what is dearest to Arrow? What is dearest to Arrow? Is it the map or is it water?
We get to the shoulder of the elephant.
Oh my God.
I know.
Never again.
I wanted. This is the campaign. This is the campaign where finding a jug of water is the fuck me. I gotta. Okay, so map is 10. Map and water is 15. And those are the two things you're searching for.
Yes.
I'll say this. On a 20, you get that and any, like, you'll find all of your effects or belongings on a 20. Cool?
Roll better than you.
Natural 20.
No! You gotta be fucking kidding me!
Yes.
Holy shit!
Let me just roll it without looking at it, too.
Holy shit. Arrow, you Arrow, you go up. Garin, it's quite close to where the mop was, to where the infirmary was. That place, because the vault, we established it before, right? So I think, Arrow, with that tip, you head off. You are literally digging through stone with your hands. However, the vault was on an upper level. They didn't want to leave it on the floor level with everybody where all the stuff was. So you're looking, and immediately you're going through rubble and you're finding some like tattered scrolls or other things like that. And as you begin to move through, you see a giant sort of like iron door now amongst the rubble, but a key to where the vault was. And on that nat 20, as you begin to dig through, you hear squeaking down in the rubble.
I follow the sound.
Moving aside, you push and see a small, on a nat 20, a small group of mice pulling a traveler's rucksack. You know, they've got a small little group of about 10 of them pulling on a leather shoulder strap. And you look down and see your bag. Rare herbs, sacred stones, things that a traveler would pick up in long travels over Guisar. And you see a scroll case, dented but secure.
I squat down, holding my bag in my hands, looking at these mice. What is your mother playing at?
The mice skitter away.
Shoulders it.
You shoulder it. You feel in your bag the heft of a full canteen of water. With that scroll case in there, on that nat 20, unreal. Checking to make sure that everything is okay. Far to the north of Rybad Cole, and these lands were not well marked by you because to travel in these lands would have been certain death, but where your notes start to get more precise, where you have more experience traveling, up closer, up farther north towards the very base of the Storm Point Mountains. You see that there is a tiny little skittering insect that takes wing and leaves a small phosphorescent glow at a point that you had never marked, but specifically in between two notes of yours. There's a pass in the bottom of the Storm Point Mountains that you had traveled through before. It's a safe place. In another lifetime, you and Danae had walked that path many times.
And here today, one of these bugs alights there?
Alights there, dances like a bumblebee, communicating something to members of its hive, and as it departs, in the same way that it left when all of you were bitten, a small phosphorescent glow alights in that place, leaving a small blot of ichor or ink.
I feel emotions that I keep tucked away well up, and I'm speechless.
Maybe he hears people talk about gods, and I don't think he understands what that is, or if that correlates to what people refer to as gods, and I don't think he understands what he's looking at.
You behold this being, and I think everyone else knows what they're seeing, and so it stays in their own moment of thankfulness for the water or lost in thought and memory. Crocus, you gaze directly at this being, unaware of what it even is, and from across a landscape, a towering colossus turns with eyes of lightning and meets your gaze directly.
Shit.
Speaking with a voice of thunder that you feel rumble in your chest. Are you afraid?
He puts Starmie down on the ground.
Yes.
Will you flee?
Would it help?
You are tired from carrying yourself. And you see that both of the little kids turn up to look at you in this moment, who have been riding your back for days. It is your own weight or the weight of another that has tired you so.
He looks down at the kids.
That is what strength is for. Lightning crackles out from him. Mist surges up from the ground around you. We are leaving forever.
Okay.
You witness the final miracles. You will need to be strong. You will need to stand and lift up those who cannot lift themselves. Our age of doing so is at an end. I hope you will be strong. And the Lord of Storms turns and begins his northward march across the plain.
Did all of us hear that, or just
All of you heard
Oh, we
that.
all heard this.
Should, he saw us. Should we go? I don't know who that is.
As the mist clears at your feet, you see that there is a thick leather belt with two clasps of like dragon ivory at the buckle on the ground at your feet.
Pick it up. Belt.
So it's a gift? I think maybe from the gods.
Is that a god?
I can't explain it, but I don't know what else it could be.
Wild. Just picks up the belt.
Picks up the belt. Looking out, there is a crackle of lightning as the Colossus moves behind a range of mountains and vanishes from this place. Starmian's body lies amongst you. Your companions lower their heads. Crocus, you hold a gift. But more than that, you have all heard the words spoken. These are the last days where miracles like this will be seen. As the rain falls, your sudden boon of life-giving water now threatens you with chill and cold. Give and take. You will need to find shelter, and quickly. The road to safety is never guaranteed, and you have only yourselves to rely on.